All right, so as we look at the last key issue 4 of chapter 4, what we're seeing is that there's a lot of folk cultures that are facing sustainability problems, meaning popular culture with globalization is becoming a lot more possible, a lot more prevalent. And so what we're seeing is a lot of these folk cultures dying out. And so the question that you guys sort of have to ask yourselves is, are they worth trying to continue, or is this something that we should sort of just like let go, you know? And so obviously, since you guys might not fall into these cultures, it might be really easy for you to just be like, yeah, you know, they should just do what we do, right? But that's that ethnocentric portion of the spectrum that we've talked about that we don't necessarily want to look at. We want to look at and value everybody's culture and try to understand, you know, what's necessary to have and what's not. Okay, so the first one that we're facing is the Amish. You know, we've talked about them several times. And so the numbers of families that are continuing the Amish traditions are quickly dwindling, primarily because it's very difficult to maintain land where they're trying to do it. Okay, marriage values, or marriage in India, challenging cultural values. Okay, they've got what they call the dowry system, which is basically like the women's families would basically like pay men to take the women from their family and marry them or whatever, the daughters. And so this is something that's not existing anymore. You know, arranged marriages aren't existing anymore. People are trying to choose their own destiny a little bit and get away from these traditions. And, you know, that might be something that, you know, in the United States we're okay with because we don't follow those traditions. But this is something that's existed for them for so long. And so this is one of the questions that we're going to talk about in class. Another problem that we're seeing is sustainability with popular culture. Popular culture does a lot of things, and it does it all the exact same way. And so when we do that, we see landscape pollution. We see uniform landscapes. You know, you look at this, and there's no way for you to tell where it is. You know, if you look at this picture, you at least know where you're looking. You know that this is something that's going to exist in India. Okay, but if you look at this, you have no idea where you're looking, because everything is so uniform. Everything looks the exact same no matter where you go. And so that's going to cause sustainability problems because, you know, it's not socially acceptable. It's not something that people are a big fan of anymore. And so another thing that you see is golf courses. Okay, this is something that exists a lot in the United States, specifically in the Midwest, is you look at that, you see 10 or above golf courses per 100,000 people, okay? That's a lot of golf courses. You know, you don't need that many golf courses, because if you consider, you know, let's say you've got a town that has 100,000 people in it, that means that they've got 10 golf courses in that town. That's probably an unsustainable amount of golf courses, because when you think about it, here's how much space a golf course is going to take up out of your land area, you know, and that's just something that you don't have enough space for, especially as we look at Malthus's theory that we're expanding too quickly, and so that's why that environmental capacity is something that we're going to talk about in class. Are golf courses good? Are the ways that we're using the environment right now to suit our needs necessarily a good thing? So then we look at, you know, resource depletion. This is, again, we're looking at Malthus here. You know, demand for animal products. We see recycling of resources, but it's not nearly enough. We see our waste per capita and our recycling rate. Like, yeah, the recycling rate is spiking, which is really good. From 1995 to now, it's seen a dramatic increase, whereas our waste per capita is actually seemingly decreased. But, you know, we're still having way more waste than we need and not nearly enough recycling. So we're going to talk about all these different ways in which you can recycle and all that good stuff, and then all of this kind of stuff. We'll talk about all of this in class, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about it right now. But just what you need to understand is that there is a significant amount of resource depletion, especially if you look right here. Here's our sources of solid waste. You know, you see paper being such a massive amount of our solid waste, and if we just recycle it, how quickly it'll deplete. The same thing with yard waste, etc. So it's really interesting, and it's something that we're going to talk a lot more about in class.